Welcome to the CAP Awards, the Spotlight Series. Oh, we have a couple more people joining.
Okay,
And
great.
Dina's going to just share and interview kind of the finalists from the Exceptional Portfolio Award. And I'm excited to hear what they have to share and their expertise in all things advocacy.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Mary, and thank you so much for hosting us. We've really appreciated being able to spend more time with the CAP Awards winners, which is, of course, is the awards program at Captivate, and learn their stories, and then here have the opportunity to share those stories more broadly with the people in the practice. I wanted to just introduce myself. As I said, I'm not the usual host here. So I'm Dina Zenek, co-founder at Captivate Collective. I've been in the customer advocacy space nearly my whole career. Fun fact, I was a journalist for many years before I started in my customer advocacy journey back in 2005. And Captivate, we focus on all things customer advocacy and have some wonderful members of our community and our CAP Award folks here. Today's topic is focused on our CAP Award category for Exceptional Customer Advocacy Portfolio. So just to define that real quick, a portfolio is a collection of advocacy programs that are working together in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that's under a collective, a unifying brand for those programs. Maybe there's overlap between the programs and the programs are kind of feeding each other in terms of people and outcomes. But together, these advocacy programs form a portfolio instead of in some organizations, the advocacy efforts or the customer programs are more disparate and not yet connected. So what we'll focus on today is the connectivity of those programs under a portfolio and kind of what the benefits are of that. I wanted to start by introducing the guests that we have here who are our CAP Award finalists and our CAP Award winner for this category. I'll start with the winner, Alyssa Maschi from Lenovo. Alyssa, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Maschi, as Dina just said. I lead our Customer Reference Center of Excellence at Lenovo. I started at Lenovo in 2019, and I kicked off the Customer Reference Program from one of our business groups. And fast forward 5 years later, we've got a full Center of Excellence spanning the entire business. So my entire customer advocacy career has been at Lenovo. I was actually in channel marketing before I came on board here. So it's been a really fun journey learning more about advocacy and how to grow and scale it within an organization of our size. So that's me.
Well, thank you for that. Not a small remit there at not a small company. Wonderful to have you here, and congratulations again on being the winner in this category with the CAP Awards. I'm going to go to you, Kati Viscano, over at Trimble. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kati Viscano, and at Trimble, I work as an associate manager of customer advocacy. I started at Trimble in 2019 as well. I started as an intern and then was fortunate enough to be brought on full time after graduating. And when I first joined, our program was itty bitty, a small community of a few hundred customers. And since then, our company was acquired by Trimble. And as the company grew and the customer base grew, we've had the opportunity to grow and expand our community into a full-blown advocacy program with many different elements. So it has definitely been a wild ride, but it's been super fun. And I'm super fortunate to be part of an awesome team.
Wonderful. Did you say where you were based, Kati?
I'm based in San Diego.
San Diego. Alyssa, did you say where you're based?
No, I didn't. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. Are you in the deep freeze there?
Yeah, sure are.
Wow.
Our heat is out and everything, so I'm sitting here with a blanket.
Gosh, I hope it's one of those plug-in heated blankets. Melissa Pezzin from Highland. Hello, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Alyssa Pezzin. I'm from Highland Software. I'm very fortunate to lead the customer advocacy and loyalty team at Highland. I have been with Highland for almost 13 years now, overseeing advocacy for 10. I really wish
Wow.
I had a group like this 10 years ago, because I probably would have designed things from the outside in instead of the inside out. So um, being so new still with advocacy in the world, I really love getting involved in these groups now and learning best practices now that I can start incorporating. But we help sales and marketing secure relevant references for all their advocacy needs and track the life cycle of those engagements. We also do various motions to proactively identify advocates, as well as oversee our advocacy rewards program. We also have a loyalty executive sponsorship program that we offer to our customers. And we oversee our peer review sourcing strategy. We actually started in sales at Highland, and then moved over to customer success. And now we're in a department called customer engagement. But I know we might have an opportunity to discuss that component a little
Yes.
bit more.
Yeah. Wonderful. Just want to say 13 years at a tech company these days, that is really a lifetime. So congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
tenure there. And there really is something to be said for that type of knowledge base that you can build up being in a role for that long, really getting to know who your customers are very intimately. So thank you for that and welcome. Boy, we have a lot of people here. I wish that we could go around and kind of do like a hello and an introduction, but with so many folks on the call, I will just do one great big hello and welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us to learn about what an exceptional advocacy portfolio is, what it looks like, and who's doing it really well. We have these three wonderful folks here today who will be able to share their stories. And my hope is that for each of you who are here, you'll find like at least a nugget here, some sort of a takeaway to take back into your practice, back into your organization, whether you already have an advocacy portfolio or you're making the case to pull more programs into the portfolio. There will be something here for you today. So before we get into some topics here around advocacy portfolios, when we think about portfolios, we go all the way back to, an organization having probably an advocacy program, some sort of standalone advocacy program, whatever sort of label you want to put on that. Maybe it's a reference program or a referral program or kind of those, platform-based advocacy programs. And there was a point in time where that was the advocacy practice for an organization, like tick the box, we have a program, we're good, we are doing customer advocacy. But that has evolved from those singular kind of siloed program or couple of programs into, as I said, an advocacy portfolio. And the benefit of this really is to have those synergies created between the programs that sit inside the portfolio. Synergy for the business in terms of outcomes and making sure that you're kind of maximizing the value of each program for your business. And then for your customers, knowing that different customers have different needs and want to be nurtured and activated in different ways, but showing them the pathways between programs, showing them the full scope of programs that may be available to them, depending on what their appetite for advocacy or advocating for your organization is. So with that in mind, let's get into some discussion. Ladies, let's talk about, for each of you, I'd like to go round robin here. Where did you start on your customer programs journey, and what does your portfolio look like now? So what was the picture of advocacy in your organization when you started, or when advocacy maybe more historically started at your org? And what does the picture look like today? I think this is a good level set for the folks who have joined us here today. And for everyone that's here, I'm hoping that you'll be able to kind of see yourself or see where your organization is at in the stories as we go round robin here. Let's start with you, Alyssa. Tell us a bit about the advocacy programs portfolio journey at Lenovo.
Yeah, so when I was hired in 2019, they had gone through numerous reference managers for that single business group. So it's the infrastructure business group. And what it actually was a haphazard program that they had acquired through one of the acquisitions that we had with IBM back in 2014. So they were in desperate need of some reform. And when I came on board, I looked at everything, and they had hundreds of legacy IBM references, right? Which really were just like a compilation of case studies. And after I looked through everything, there were only 30 that had consent. So I'm coming in and I'm like, cool, I've got a starting point of 30, got to put some guardrails around this thing. And the number one thing we did was to get that executive support, not only from marketing, but from sales. So I had a team of 2 on my Tiger team, and we really just honed in and put some structure around what we wanted this reference program to be for the infrastructure business. And it was a success. Within the first year, we went from 30 to 130, and it exceeded everybody's expectations. And this was globally just for one business group. And going to the next year, it was another 100. And our CMO out of Beijing just said, I like what you're doing. I want you to do it for the rest of the organization, which is comprised of 3 main business groups and our corporate team. And so we put together a hybrid center of excellence model, which was, we've got our core COE team. We set the foundation, the strategy, the tools, the resources, the processes, procedures, the whole 9 yards. We define what this program is, and then we enable our business groups to execute against that. So we are a hybrid team of a centralized center of excellence, but decentralized, with an extension within our business group. So that process took, from start 2019 with just one business group to 2022 for the COE, and we've had the COE in place for 3 years, and we've pretty much turned it into a fairly well-oiled machine and just continue to grow year over year. So that's pretty much in a nutshell of what our journey has been like for Lenovo.
I love the COE angle. We're seeing that start to pop up more and more, that when we're thinking about advocacy portfolios, that center of excellence really is a good kind of functional and organizational structure for advocacy. We're seeing it more in the enterprise space, because you aren't going to own advocacy across every element of a massive enterprise, but you can help to kind of steer and guide and bring best practice into the organization through a COE function. So thank you for sharing that. Let's go to you, Katie. You're next in my view.
Sounds good. Yeah, so again, I joined in 2019, and at that point in time, Kathleen, who we were a team of 2 for quite a while, had already established our community, which we call the network. She'd already established the network within Viewpoint. She'd kind of gone roadshow style around to leadership in the different divisions, which within our company, which was called Viewpoint at that point in time, and had a decent community established of a few hundred customers. And shortly after I joined, Viewpoint was acquired by Trimble. And at that point in time, everything kind of took off really quickly. Our community grew very quickly amongst the customer base within Viewpoint. And as it grew, it caught the attention of a lot of new divisions within Trimble, which allowed us to establish a lot of cross-divisional relationships and begin exploring the possibility of adding new elements into the program. So at that point in time, we started doing more customer advocacy emails, customer advocacy webinars, partnering with marketing, learning and enablement, sales for many different elements, including newsletters, trainings, reviews, references, and referrals, and doing a lot of work across those 3 main components of our program: our community, webinar, and email. And then most recently, in about the past year and a half, we have been asked to expand our program across all of Trimble construction, which has been very exciting. A very big undertaking, which will take the next year or 2 to fully complete, but we've definitely faced some challenges and have been changing things up, definitely changing how we go about running our program and whatnot, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, it's been very exciting. It's been very cool to see the changes and the growth over the past few years, and to now have the opportunity and to be asked by the leadership at Trimble to take our program construction wide rather than just within like the viewpoint sector.
It's like your empire building.
Yes.
Just keep expanding, keep building that empire. That's exciting. I mean, that is always an exciting moment in time for advocacy programs and portfolios when you are getting asked to expand into other areas of the business. That really is just proof of the value that you've been able to show and drive. So well done, Katie. Melissa, over at Highland, tell us, where did the customer programs journey start, and what does it look like today as a portfolio?
Sure. I had mentioned before that we started off in sales. So I actually started at Highland in a sales role and had inherently done some reference requests with helping my account executives with their deals. And I was approached by someone like, you want to start up a reference role in a program at Highland. Again, not knowing how to do any of it, I just started figuring it out as I went. And along with another person on the team, what we formed was a rewards program for, I would say, about like 40 customers, our most used advocates. And then also part of that was fulfilling reference requests for sales so that the same customers wouldn't get used over and over. And we were spreading the love across our customer base and making sure that everything was documented in the system so that we weren't overutilizing customers once we've approached them. So what started as fulfilling reference requests for sales, for name drops and phone calls and site visits, eventually we started helping marketing too, specifically with getting references for their analyst report needs. And then also tracking different advocacy that was done within marketing, like the case studies and the video testimonials, so that everything is tracked and we have full visibility into all the ways that we're leveraging our advocates. So we started with a small pool of customers I mentioned with the rewards program. We've probably doubled that in size, but in terms of just the pool of customers that we look to for advocacies activities in general, whether they're in the rewards program or not, we've by far, I think, quadrupled that over the years. So a lot of that's been identifying customers as we've worked on reference requests, but also proactively seeking them out as well. So doing campaigns with certain profiles of customers that we know we're going to get a lot of reference requests for in the future, and working closely with the account teams, like the sales account executives and the CSMs, to identify those customers. I would say that we've gotten a lot better as an organization in terms of capturing our customers' referenceability state. We do that within our systems. We use Reference Edge right now. And as well as vetting how they're utilizing our products and what are they willing to be an advocate for, but there's still a lot of room for improvement with that. But that has helped us to be able to scale our programs to where they are today. So I had mentioned, the advocacy program, reference request fulfillment. We've also added some other programs to our mix more recently, and I mentioned this in our introduction. So we have our executive sponsorship program. So we align our most strategic customers with Highland executives so that they meet on a regular basis, and we provide them a loose framework so that they are hopefully nurturing those customers to stay with us and be loyal. And then we also oversee our peer review strategy. So specifically securing customers to leave reviews on GPI and G2 in hopes of increasing our brand awareness.
So when you said that you had quadrupled membership, I'm hoping that as we go through some of the talking points today, some of the questions, that you might even have some goodness to share there, because that is a big number. And I know we're always thinking about how do we get more people into programs. And I think that is one of the most powerful pieces of a portfolio, is that synergy between programs. A bit about my background quickly when it comes to portfolios. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. I spent 10 years at an education technology company managing a portfolio of advocacy programs, and the focus was always on the synergy. So our audience were educators, K-12 educators, and the programs really were designed to give advocates whatever their, I would call it like a program pathway, whatever their kind of desire for advocacy was, that there was ways for them to get deeper and deeper with the company. So there was kind of the flagship advocacy platform program. But coming off of that, we had a trade show teacher program. So if you wanted to go out to conferences and, work in our booth for a bit, then you could get a conference pass and have, your expenses and airfare and all of that paid for. There was a conference presenter program. If you wanted to go to a conference and speak about the good work that you were doing in your classroom, and it had an angle that included our products, we would help connect you with those opportunities at conferences, help you with the conference proposal, and help you get to the conference. We had reference programs, the Smart Showcase Schools and Smart Showcase Districts programs, where people could go on site into classrooms and see products in action. We had the Smart Research program. So as you were doing the good work using our products, you could do participatory action research projects, and then we could spin that into stories back inside the business. And also part of my remit was the philanthropic side of the business that included another research program, a traveling teddy bear program for the kids, lots of logistics with that one, and probably one of my favorite programs in the portfolio was a 2-week camp with me and about 100 sixth graders and their teachers, where we would all get together and just celebrate learning. And an annual event for advocates where we'd bring in 85 educators from around the world for a week of learning and sharing and growing. So all of these programs, again, designed to say, if you are this type of advocate, then there's this type of opportunity for you. If you're that type of advocate, there's that type of opportunity for you. We did hackathons for the, more producty folks. So that really is the power of the portfolio, is maximizing the potential for your customer, maximizing the benefit back into your business. Okay, so thank you for the lay of the land. I've just explained how in my practice, the programs all fed into each other, and you may have touched on that a bit in your sharing. But did your customer programs feed into each other, specifically around vision, branding, membership, or content? Tell us a little bit about the specifics of how the programs were or are connected. Let's start with you, Katie.
Yeah, for sure. I think the three main areas of our program, the community, email, and webinars, are definitely aligned branding wise, but I think content is probably the biggest way that all of our programs feed into one another. We often, like I mentioned, send emails, and we'll take that content and turn it into a blog post, or we'll turn it into a post in our community. We'll run webinars, and that webinar will turn into a blog post in itself. It will turn into a post in the community recapping the webinar, but then also encouraging customers to share the blog post on their social accounts. That webinar will be promoted in our events section. It'll also be put in our on-demand library, which is also hosted inside of our community. So we really try to do our best to make sure that the content from each area of our program is highlighted within each of those individual elements, I guess. And then we also do a lot cross-divisionally as well. So for instance, we will in our emails highlight with learning and enablement their training monthly and their product features and new workflows and releases and whatnot. And that will also show up in the product updates section of our community. So we do a lot of, I guess, cross-pollination.
Yes.
As I'm sure we all know, it takes multiple attempts of getting information in front of customers for them to really digest and understand. So that's our main focus, I think, when it comes to our programs and elements all feeding into one another.
You made it sound so easy, but we know, all of us here know that even just taking a single piece of content and making sure that you maximize the value of a single effort takes a lot of time, energy, and patience to really get it right. Alyssa, your portfolio, is it branded?
Yeah, well, customer reference center of excellence, yeah, and internally, and when we communicate to the customers, we just pretty much label it our customer advocacy program. So that's how we communicate it to our customers. But similar to Katie, right? Content is kind of king over here. So we use that as an opportunity to start the customer journey through our programs. And because we're working with such scale with, over 70,000 employees at our organization, right? We've got a menu of certain engagement opportunities that our customers can opt into. And when they come back to us saying, yes, we'd like to participate, they have a checklist that they can kind of say, I'm interested in doing X, Y, and Z. It's not a shopping list, right? They don't do it all, but it's basically raising their hand and saying, I'd be interested in doing this. And 99% of the time they start with a one-pager, a testimonial, or a case study, right? So we start there, and then that gives us an opportunity to get to know the customer, the individual that's behind the account, the story, right? And from there, then we're able to do exactly like what Katie and what you said, Dina, is like, oh, this customer would fit really great in this other opportunity, being on stage at this industry event, or we have an analyst summit and they would love to speak to a customer in this vertical, right? So now we have a better understanding of the story. We know the customer, their aspirations, their interests, and they've also already raised their hand for various opportunities. So that's just kind of a natural jumping point for us where we can, like Katie said, cross-pollinate into other areas of our program. And it's worked pretty successfully so far.
Alyssa, you mentioned there that very tactical maneuver of getting people to kind of say what it is that they're interested in. For you, Melissa and Katie, what are you doing to present the various programming options to your customer base? Let's start with you, Melissa.
It's a good question. So because our official loyalty programs are exclusive and invite only today, typically how we started out is by funneling our customer base into our programs by first gauging with the account teams. What is their satisfaction state? How are they using our products today? And what are they equipped to speak to? What are they comfortable with doing? This usually happens through fulfilling either live reference needs, or we will proactively seek them customers out if they have a profile that we think will serve well for what our current advocacy needs are. And once we've started working with these customers and utilizing them as an advocate, it gives us a sense of other ways that we can leverage them as an advocate. Like we might have used them for a reference call, but we found actually they have a really good story and they're a great speaker. So let's put them in front of a variety of customers at an event, like our big customer conference. And it's usually by first utilizing them a couple times as an advocate, we get a sense of they would be great for our loyalty programs, and make sure that their organizations will allow them to participate in a rewards program as well. That's a key piece to it. So we will invite them into the programs, which will just give them a more elevated experience as an advocate for us. But there are many inherent benefits to being an advocate. So we won't just look to our official rewards program customers to do advocacy. We look to all customers depending on the need, because it's an opportunity for them to network, to get best practices from another organization. So customers still say yes to doing advocacy for Highland, knowing what they get out of it, whether or not they get a reward or not.
Got it. Katie, how are you presenting the options, the plethora of options for advocacy?
Yeah, luckily for us, word of mouth has been huge. Our community is open to any Trimble customers within construction. Um, so as long as they have SSO with Trimble, they're able to be able to access our community. But then our customer success team also does a really good job of communicating, um, you know, the email sign up, and we have like a page where customers can subscribe to receive notifications and emails. But then also a lot of our communications again come through the network, our community. And then that really gives us a good starting point for kind of identifying our advocates for webinars, events, for speaking for a blog or providing a quote and whatnot. But it also provides us with the platforms for hand raises, which we do quarterly, asking customers to volunteer, to be a part of these programs and initiatives that we're putting on. But I think word of mouth has helped us out humongously.
So it sounds like you're doing a bit of a mix of that kind of curating, identifying who the right people might be for the right opportunity. But what is this quarterly motion? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so we are definitely in the process of reworking it. We transitioned to a new platform end of last year, but we typically run just a quarterly activity asking customers to volunteer. And usually we give them like options to volunteer from, like, are you interested in participating in a panel at an event? Would you be interested in being a guest speaker on a webinar? Would you be interested in meeting with our content team for a case study or blog? And then we typically have like a list of hot topics for our industry, and we ask them to choose from those topics, like what would you be most comfortable speaking on? What products do you use? And asking questions like what challenges have you overcome in the past year that you could provide a quote or a short story or blog post on and whatnot. And then from that, we typically look through the list and sometimes eliminate depending on the customers who have raised their hands. But we usually come out with a decent sized list that we're able to pass on to our sales teams for referrals, but then also like our content and events team so that they have customers to choose from as needs arise.
I'm going to ask a really practical question here, Katie. I know that there's got to be some folks here with us who have this question as well. For the people who raise their hands, but you are going to eliminate them from the process. How do you do that?
I would say that they don't necessarily know that they've been removed, because we basically we ask for volunteers. We send them at that point in time points to put towards rewards as a thank you, and then we let them know that their information will be passed on and they'll be contacted if an opportunity arises, sort of a situation. So for the customers who volunteer, and at that point in time it would happen because they wanted the points,
Right.
And so we would sometimes look through the list and be like, I'm not sure this customer really would be the best fit for this opportunity, just after being familiar and seeing their interaction inside the community. Again, we wouldn't necessarily notify them because we would word it in a way that was like, thank you. We appreciate you volunteering, and you'll be contacted down the road if we have an opportunity that fits your offer, I guess.
Hey, it's a good problem to have. To have too many hand raisers is never a bad thing. It's how setting those expectations with the people who did raise their hand. If nothing does come through for them, figuring out how to message that, communicate that, and keep them on board for the next time, whether that's another quarterly reach out or the next time you do have an opportunity, that they're still warm and receptive. Let's move on here and talk about managing multiple customer programs. When you have a number of different programs in the portfolio, size of team can certainly be a factor. Just, structurally how you're set up, what sort of overlap you have between the programs. So I'm going to come back over to you, Alyssa, and ask you for some insights on how to effectively manage and prioritize customer programs and how to collaborate efficiently across the organization with the programs.
Yeah, so our Center of Excellence model, I think, has done wonders for this. So how we operate is we have our core Center of Excellence team. It's myself, and I have 2 individuals who directly report to me. One manages, all of our tools, our processing of nominations, and the other is focused on our large enterprise stories and one Lenovo, as we call it, that covers the entire business. But where the key comes in is we've got individuals who manage the programs within each of the business groups. So I call them our force multipliers, right? So we've got not only us managing the entire program and how it operates, but we've got our individuals in the business group who are aligned to their priorities of their specific business group and manage their respective references that feed in through their teams, right? So so that has done wonders for us. It helps us, manage effectively. It allows us to, divide and conquer when it comes to working internally, spreading the message, the awareness, working with sales, working with marketing, and we're all strategically aligned because we've set that standard at the COE level. So just having that structure and that hierarchy has really been a successful move for us and enable us to really effectively manage all of those programs and all be in line with each other.
Alyssa, how big is your team, if you don't mind saying?
So we have 7 of us.
7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just before I move over to Katie, Melissa, Mary, I see that you had your hand raised.
Yes, there was a question in chat, but Katie went in there and answered it. So we're all set.
Okay, great. Yes,
you,
and we will
Katie.
definitely have time for a Q&A, but as we can crowdsource answers to questions coming in the chat, we will certainly do that as we move along. Melissa, I'm going to pop back over to you and ask you to share some insight on how you're managing this portfolio and how are you collaborating efficiently across Highland with these programs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So like Alyssa, we have a team of 7, and I'm very fortunate to be part of such a strong team. But advocacy in general takes a village. So not just our immediate team, but it's a team sport with many different departments and a lot of different stakeholders. But that's the beauty of it, and what my team and I like so much about customer advocacy is that we get to work with so many different departments and find out how advocacy plays into bringing value to their specific business area. So like sales, marketing, customer success, global services, renewals, but then there's always new departments we're coming across as well that are interested in utilizing advocates or helping contribute to identifying advocates that we find out about all the time. So I think because we are able to convey the power of advocacy in bringing revenue to Highland, I think it hasn't been very hard with getting different departments rallied behind us and helping identify those advocates. So that definitely has helped with having so many different groups behind us. But I would say the efficiency and prioritization piece comes into play by meeting with leaders of these top stakeholders and getting their sense of what their goals and vision is for the year, and then finding a way that we can directly plug our advocacy programs and our processes within their department goals. And when it comes down to it, the prioritization always comes from our leaders when it's tied to revenue, which is something that we evangelize a lot at Highland, is tying our references influence to sales deals that close booked. So that's something that we post all the time when we're doing different presentations across the organization.
Thank you for that, Melissa. I think a key takeaway there is understanding what's important to those other departments and collaborating on those items that are going to help move the needle for the other folks across the organization with your advocacy programs. Katie, do we have like lucky sevens here, 3 sevens? Do you also have 7 people on your team?
No, we have 5.
5. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Nearly there. That would have
Hopefully
been
we'll
fun
get to
if we had
7.
3 sevens. Tell us a bit about how you're prioritizing and kind of juggling multiple programs and how you're collaborating across the organization.
Yeah, so I think similar to Alyssa, our team kind of splits up responsibilities amongst our 5. And the way that we do this is primarily by product. So each of us owns a group of products within Trimble Construction, and then it's our responsibility to meet with the stakeholders that also manage, oversee that product, like within their own business division. So I have regular meetings with the stakeholders for the 6 products that I oversee. My coworkers do the same for their products, and then we have a weekly meeting where we come together and kind of update each other on what's going on, collaborate, make plans as a team, and sometimes that's pulling products into a campaign. Sometimes that's us running individual campaigns or emails that are more product specific or persona specific. And that's worked really well for us, especially as we've been expanding. And then we do a lot of like industry and thought leadership work as well. And we approach it similarly. Like we all own different components of those areas, especially within the community. And that kind of how we are able to manage the different areas of our programs and make the meeting with all of the stakeholders a bit more manageable.
Yeah, so I'm seeing that there's kind of 3 before we move into some final comments and leave some time for some Q&A. I'm seeing kind of 3 big takeaways here. The first is understanding who your customers are as advocates and what type of advocacy they're interested in. Whether you have a motion as they come in the front door to determine that, whether you're doing something quarterly to check in to see what types of opportunities someone might be interested in. It's really having that diversity of advocacy programming and opportunities for customers is a takeaway of the value and benefit of a portfolio. Second takeaway here that I'm hearing is that diversity of input and impact into the business and the portfolio as an organizing structure for how you funnel that benefit of engaged customers back into the business and translate that into business impact. And a third takeaway, again, around business impact is around the collaboration with your broader stakeholder groups inside the business and understanding what their goals and objectives are and having programming or inputs and outputs from your portfolio that are aligned to or help move the needle for other stakeholder groups inside the business and then growing your portfolio, your remit from there. Is there anything that 1, 2, or 3 of you would add to those key takeaways? Did you hear anything else come through here? Good roundup. Good roundup. Okay. So you were all finalists, and Alyssa, the winner for an impactful individual award here with the Exceptional Advocacy Portfolio CAP Award. So I'll go one by one here. We'll start with you, Alyssa, as the winner. What's a piece of advice that you'd give to someone that's maybe a couple of years behind you in their own advocacy journey?
Yeah, and this is something that I was given as a piece of advice in my first year in this role at Lenovo, and it could be applied in any area of your career. But what my VP of sales said to me was, whatever you do, keep it simple, stupid, or KISS, right?
Yeah.
And I swear to you, I use that in anything that we create, whether it be an internal PowerPoint presentation or, pitching it to a customer to engage in certain activity. I look at it and I say, how can I make this simpler? Like, how can I have somebody look at this and capture what I want to say in just 10 seconds, right? So And that just has, it has served us so well, especially when we're trying to communicate at scale and, trying to get our sellers to help mobilize this program for us. You got to keep it simple, got to keep it as simple as possible. And that's
Especially in such a large, complex organization, simplicity,
Yes.
I'm sure, is one of your superpowers there. Alyssa, you're doing such impactful and incredible work at Lenovo. We're just happy to kind of be on the sidelines, cheering you on, watching your team grow and watching your remit grow. Thank you for that. Katie, what advice would you give to someone that's a couple of years behind you in their advocacy journey?
Yeah, I think something I would just put out there is that growing a successful program takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of trial and error. And I think there were lots of things that we tried that didn't work. And so it's a lot of giving something a shot and then adapting and changing it and finding ways to make it work. And I think back a few years ago, and some days I'm like, wow, I what I would do to go back to then and just enjoy the process a little bit more rather than constantly wishing that things were a little bit further along or whatnot. So I think enjoying the process and enjoying your team and your program where it's at, and then just being patient and things come with time and but it's all worth it. So
Savor the moment. Be in the
yeah.
moment, savor that moment. Melissa, what advice would you give?
I would say in terms of a rewards program specifically, start small. Create your programs with a small pilot of customers so that you can get a good feel for what works, what doesn't, and then go from there to expand and scale and then create automation where you can. I tend to think too big and then have to take a step back. So kind of along the same lines of like what Alyssa was saying, like simplify it. It will allow you to go through your program iterations in a more agile method so that you can see what's successful and then add on to it.
Start small, keep it simple, be in the moment. I think great advice from three practitioners who certainly are making it happen in their roles and in their organizations. For everyone that's here, if you don't yet follow Alyssa, Katie, or Melissa on LinkedIn, I'm sure they'd appreciate the reach out and the connection. And with that, I'd like to open it up for Q&A. You can raise your hand. You can just come off mute. What questions do you have for the folks here around an exceptional advocacy portfolio? I'm good with awkward silence.
I wanted to hear from these finalists about their internal, like, advocating for their advocacy programs, what obstacles they've had and how they've overcome them over the years. Oh, and I see April just asked a question as well. How do you approach getting budget both at the start and each year? So, whichever they want to run with.
Who wants to jump in?
I would say for the budget question, I kind of alluded to this before, but like tying revenue to your work can help make the case when it comes to asking for budget. And then again, with starting small, you can prove that the program was successful so that you can ask for more budget next year. So that's how I would answer that question. And then Mary, you were asking about how to navigate internally to promote your advocacy programs, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I would say getting in as much department meetings as possible. We call them all hands, as well as getting on smaller meetings. So finding different cadences to connect with those stakeholders, and then as well as meeting with the leaders. So like the VPs over those stakeholder areas, like I had mentioned, with getting figuring out what their goals are for the year, and then incorporating our own department's goals in alignment with what they're saying.
I can add an
Okay.
answer here to the budget question that came in from April. Thank you for that, April. I like to think about budgeting in terms of like an ABC budget. So really kind of having a strategy locked in and then thinking about what are the tactics or programs or plans to stand up that strategy. And then when I would go in and ask for a budget, it would be aligned to outcomes, to a plan. So I would be able to say, I can, kind of ballpark this level of impact into the business. I would need this much money to do it. Or if that's, that would kind of be my aspirational budget. Or my B budget would be, if I had this much money, I could do this. But like, you don't actually get the A budget if I don't have enough money to make that happen. But there is kind of a pared down version. And then the C budget would be, hey, look, if times are really tight this year, and we're tightening the purse strings, this is what my plan would look like. This is the level of outcomes that an impact I'd be able to drive. And this is how much I think that would cost. So my approach to budget was to give options, but show how those options, the diminishing budget, actually meant diminishing impact in some way, shape, or form, because you do have to, even in the world of advocacy, spend money to make money. And it does take some dollars to stand up some bigger efforts. But if that money is not there, that there's still options and you're still showing your value, just the impact might look a little bit different. So I hope that was helpful. Alyssa or Katie, anything that you'd like to add in terms of what that looks like to start the conversation around budget or how you are kind of shopping around the idea of advocacy?
Yeah. I personally don't have a hand in our budgeting, so I don't feel qualified to answer that question. But when it comes to, I guess, getting executive buy-in and whatnot, for us, we have thankfully the leadership of our immediate team has been great from the start, and they have been super helpful in, I guess, name dropping the network in our community with their meetings with executives, which has been super helpful. And then, like Melissa said, we try and throw some humble brags in where we can in meetings or mentioning the community or whatnot. But I think also a huge component has been applying for awards like the CAP Awards and other industry awards. Being able to say that we're an award-winning program and kind of having something to show for the program and to prove that the success is being recognized like outside of our team and outside of the company has also been huge in gaining that buy-in and helping us expand and have our program known within the entire construction division. So I think that putting yourself out there and putting your program out there is a huge component to that as well.
Thank you for that.
Katie.
In our final couple of minutes here, Alyssa, anything that you would add?
Yeah, I was just to say I second what Katie just said. I think that's been a huge piece too, is showing that, the awards, even if you're, shortlisted or you happen to win it, sharing that with your leaders has already done wonders for us internally. But in terms of budget, there's a couple of different approaches we've taken. So early days, we didn't have a lot of Lenovo dollars. So what I ended up doing is I went to our alliance partners. I went to the Intels, I went to the AMDs, I went to the NVIDIAs. I went to all of those, all of our partners, and they had marketing development funds or MDF available. And that's how I funded a lot of our budget for the first couple of years, and how some of our programs are still funded is through those partnerships. So that's one avenue that was really successful early on and that we've continued to develop over the years. But the second piece, and this, kind of goes in line with what everybody else is saying, is having those executive leaders. So when we created the COE, it was a pretty tall ask for our corporate team to fund. And so what I ended up doing is going to all the marketing leaders. I didn't ask them for money. I asked them for the support. So I got their buy-in on the concept of the COE, what it was going to look like, how it would benefit their particular business groups, and got their support. So now I had 3 bigwigs, that reported up to the CMO behind me, so that when I went to the CMO and said, hey, I've got these 3 people who are running 3 of your main marketing departments. They've got my back and they support this program. This is what it's going to take to deliver on it. So it was it was a stepping stone, right? The first ask was not for money. It was just for support of the program and what we were trying to do. And the second one was getting the money. So that's how we approached, that budgetary challenge, and still a challenge.
I'm right there with you. The find it wherever you can find it approach, especially if you were kind of earlier on with your ambitions inside your organization with customer advocacy. There's always going to be someone that's got some funding somewhere. I always say, like, the events people can be really close allies and good friends when it comes to helping to fill in your budget a bit, because you might have tickets through event sponsorships, you might have swag cupboards, left over from events. There might be some ways that you can leverage what other folks are doing and what they have in their budgets. I know we are at the top of the hour. I see your question there, April, about how to calculate business impact. That is a huge topic. We actually, Captivate offers a certification around that, around business impact. There are many different ways to fry a fish, as I like to say, when you're looking at how to calculate impact. It's a huge topic to unpack, and maybe one for a future conversation. Thank you so much to Katie, to Melissa, to Alyssa, our finalists, and Alyssa, our winner in the Exceptional Advocacy Portfolio category of the CAP Awards. I'm so grateful for your time and for your energy, and for your applications to the CAP Awards, and to everyone who's come to the conversation today. Thank you as well. And we hope to see you next time. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.